The chief called us into her office at 4 p.m. The mayor was already there. Mayor Edward Walsh was in his 50s, polished in the way politicians always are, perfect hair, careful smile, the kind of confidence that comes from never having to doubt yourself. He'd been running Ravenshore for 15 years, riding a platform of modernization and progress. In practice, that meant courting tech companies, improving tourism, and keeping anything unpleasant out of the headlines. A murder was about as unpleasant as it got. Detectives, Walsh nodded to us as we entered. I wanted to personally thank you for your work on this case. The case isn't closed yet, I said, but you have a suspect. Walsh glanced at Chief Martinez. Danny Vance, the evidence seems compelling. Evidence is one piece of the puzzle, Burke said. We're still building the case. Of course, of course. Walsh leaned forward, hands clasped. But the community needs closure. Business owners are concerned, tourist season is approaching, and people are nervous. A murder on Ravenshore, it's unprecedented. I bit back the response I wanted to give. It wasn't unprecedented. My sister had been murdered here 20 years ago. We understand the pressure, Burke said diplomatically. But rushing an arrest can backfire. If we move before we're ready, I'm not asking you to rush. Walsh's smile didn't waver. I'm asking you to consider the timeline. How much longer do you need? Chief Martinez stepped in. The DA says we have enough for an arrest warrant. The fingerprint, the witnesses, the circumstantial evidence, it's solid. Then what's the hesitation? I looked at Burke. He looked at me. Neither of us spoke. There are still loose ends, I said finally. Questions we haven't answered. What questions? How Danny Vance knew Megan Collins, why he would kill her over a $50 debt, whether anyone else might have been involved. Walsh's brow furrowed. Are you suggesting there's another suspect? I'm suggesting we haven't fully investigated every angle. Detective, Walsh's voice hardened slightly. I appreciate thoroughness. But there comes a point where additional investigation becomes delay for its own sake. You have a suspect with motive, means, and opportunity. You have physical evidence tying him to the crime. You have witnesses placing him with the victim shortly before her death. The timing feels convenient. Walsh cut me off. Cases break, that's how investigations work. You chase dead ends until something connects, and then suddenly you have answers. He stood, buttoning his jacket. I trust Chief Martinez to make the right call, but the community is watching. They want to know their island is safe. He left without waiting for a response. The door clicked shut behind him. Chief Martinez exhaled slowly. I know what you're thinking, she said, and I don't entirely disagree, but Walsh has a point. We have evidence, we have a suspect. At some point, we have to act. Even if the suspect is wrong, I asked, even if we have doubts. Martinez met my eyes. The system has safeguards. If Danny Vance is innocent, his lawyer will find the holes. The trial will reveal the truth. And if it doesn't, then we failed. But we fail either way if we let a murderer walk because we weren't confident enough to act. She sat back in her chair. Arrest warrants are being prepared. We move on Danny Vance tomorrow morning. I found Burke in the parking lot, leaning against his truck, staring at nothing. This doesn't feel right, I said. I know. Danny Vance didn't kill Megan Collins. You don't know that. I know it. I stood next to him, looking out at the gray afternoon sky. Everything about this case has been hard. Walls, dead ends, nothing connecting, and suddenly it's easy. The weapon shows up, witnesses appear, everything lines up perfectly. Sometimes cases break. This one didn't break, it was handed to us. I turned to face him. Someone wanted us to find Danny Vance. Someone pointed us right at him. Burke was quiet for a long moment. Even if you're right, he said finally, what do we do about it? The chiefs made her call. The mayor's breathing down everyone's neck. We don't have another suspect, we barely have a theory. Then we dig faster. Dig where? I thought about Danny's description. Middle-aged, glasses, nerdy-looking, said he worked at one of the tech companies. Aberdeen, I said. Pierre Aberdeen from Algo Tech. Danny's description of Pete fits him. He knew Megan, he works in tech, he's the right age. That's thin. It's all we have. Burke shook his head slowly. Even if Aberdeen is this Pete, even if he introduced Danny to Megan, that doesn't make him a killer. It makes him a guy who knew people. It makes him a connection we didn't have before. It makes him a thread, and threads break. Burke finally looked at me. Listen, Hartley, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen cases that felt wrong turn out to be exactly what they looked like, and I've seen cases that felt right fall apart completely. Which one is this? I don't know, that's the point. He pushed off from the truck. We arrest Danny Vance tomorrow, that's what's happening, but after that, I'll help you look into Aberdeen, quietly, off the books. Why? Because you might be right, and because if you are, we're about to put an innocent man in prison. His jaw tightened. I've had 20 years to live with one failure. I don't need another. He got in his truck and drove away. I stood alone in the parking lot, watching the fog roll in from the harbor. Tomorrow, we would arrest Danny Vance for murder. The case would close. The community would relax. The mayor would give interviews about swift justice. And somewhere, the real killer would be watching, waiting to see if anyone would notice.